Hello and welcome to the Hoopheads podcast. It's Mike Klinzing here with my co-host Jason Sunkel tonight, and we are jumping on to talk some NBA playoffs. NBA playoffs.
I'm giving you a thumbs up, Mike.
Thumbs up. We are live on YouTube for the very first time.
Yeah, we're giving this a shot. It's really strange because I'm looking at it right now, Mike, and I'm like on the other side of the screen from what I am when I'm looking at the camera.
I understand. Yeah, it's
a
all.
little, it's a little odd. It's a little odd, but it's pretty cool, and it's not that far behind, Mike.
All right. Well, there you go. Well, hopefully at some point somebody will discover this. If you want to check us out live, we're going to try to do at least our NBA episodes from this point forward on YouTube. We're going to try to stream the episodes just to see what kind of response we get. So we are switching platforms. We're on a new platform. Shout out to Riverside FM. We are now streaming live using Riverside. We're going to be recording all of our podcasts on that particular platform. Not that anyone cares. But anyway, we're going to talk some NBA tonight. It is currently halftime of the Nuggets-Suns Game 5. Nuggets with a 3-point lead after blowing
a huge lead. It looked like this game wasn't at halftime. We weren't going to have anything to worry about. We thought the game was going to be over. And then all of a sudden, the Nuggets decided they weren't going to pass the ball and move around. They were just going to have terrible offensive possessions. And I don't know.
It was a rough second quarter for the Nuggets. That was a rough second quarter for the Nuggets. It got off to a bad start, and it didn't get any better as things went along. It looked like they were really in control of that game in the first quarter, and they were getting good shots. They were moving the ball. Obviously, Michael Porter Jr. hits 4 threes, and that certainly helps, just like Landry Shamet hitting 4 threes in Game 4 helped Phoenix. This has been a super high level of play in this series. In those 2 games in Phoenix, the offensive basketball and what Devin Booker did, shooting 79% from the floor. And then obviously Jokic with the 53-point game. That's to say nothing of how good Durant and Jamal Murray have been in those 2 games. So
and not to mention Booker started, I think, 3 for 3 tonight too. Like he's just on an all-time heater right now. Like,
and he banged in that half-court shot that didn't count. Before the buzzer.
Yeah. So.
But
just
anyway,
craziness.
We'll probably leave our analysis for that. We'll probably leave our analysis for that game. Make it last.
Make it last. All right. So
we'll make that the last thing we talk about tonight.
Oh well, we've got lots to talk about, Mike. Not even just NBA stuff. We're gonna have other things to talk about, and it's exciting to talk about it. My favorite coach is now fired, so we're gonna have to talk about him because, and by favorite, I mean I don't know if he's my favorite. He's my favorite coach to make fun of, but we'll get there, Mike. Before we're gonna do that, I just figured we've been doing our little game every week, and the game that I've chosen this week is the all-time NBA and ABA career playoff leaders in records for blocks, Mike.
Blocks. Okay. All right, so we're going with blocks. So I'm going to go, let's see. I'll start with Tim Duncan.
He's number 1, Mike.
All right. That's pretty good. Okay, I'm going to go with Shaq.
Number 4.
All right. Let's see. Now we need some other shot blockers who have played in a lot of playoff games. Akeem.
Number 3. Whoa.
So I have 1, 3, and 4. All right, so I need 2 more shot blocking big men who have played in a lot of playoff games. I'll say Kareem.
Number 2. Oh my God, Mike. Can we go 5 for 5, Mike? You get number 5.
So now I need number 5. All right, let me really think and go through and think about who is another center that played a lot of playoff basketball.
You've got the right position, Mike.
Okay, so I this guy, the name that I'm going to go with Patrick Ewing.
Number 7.
So I still need number 5.
You're still in the realm. You're still in the realm, Mike. You're still
David Robinson.
And David Robinson. He's number 5. David Robinson only had 9 more blocks than Patrick Ewing. So there's the guy in between them played for the Celtics.
Robert Parrish.
Yep, number 6. Good job, Mike.
Wow. All right.
Number 8 was
pretty
Julius
good.
Erving. Number 9 is still in the NBA. And he had a nickname that has the block in it.
And a nickname that has a block in it.
Serge Ibaka. Serge Ibaka.
Serge Ibaka. Okay, I never heard that one before.
Oh my gosh, really?
Serge Ibaka? I never heard of that one before.
That's a pretty good one, isn't it?
That's a new one. I like it. I think you just invented it right now, though.
Oh, I swear. LeBron James, Mike, is number 11 on this list. Just so you know.
I would eventually gotten to LeBron. So Doc is the first non-center.
Well, Tim Duncan's not technically a center, right? He's a power forward.
Big man. Doc is the first non-big man. How about that?
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Kevin McHale's number 10.
Looking for guys that played a lot of playoff games. So, not surprising. All right, so I did pretty good on that one.
The only name on this list that I don't recognize, Mike, is number 15, Caldwell Jones.
Caldwell Jones, Philadelphia 76ers. He was on the late 70s, early 80s Sixers. So he was on that 83 Sixers championship team.
Pre-me. Nickname is Pops. I like that.
That's a good nickname. That's a good nickname.
So
I'm not sure these nicknames, how accurate these are. Maybe this is like something his mom called him when he was 12, because a lot of those nicknames that when you rattle those things off, I'm like, I don't know if I ever heard any of those nicknames.
Listen, it's on the basketball reference page, Mike. It's not like I'm on Wikipedia.
No, I'm not saying you're making them up. I'm just saying I'm not sure. Like, I think any name the guy's ever been called in his entire life, like some guy in a pickup game one time called him Pops, and they just throw it out there. So,
yeah. All right. So, actually, Mike, can we start with the non-playoff news? Can we just start with the non-playoff news and then does that make the most sense? Okay.
Yeah, so sure.
Budenholzer out. Chip. The only coach left of the last 4 champions, right? Because last year is
Steve Kerr
is out. Bud is out.
Yep.
And Vogel out.
Yep.
What have you done for me lately? I guess listen. I understand Budenholzer's always been on like a fine tightrope, and like if he wouldn't have won 2 years ago, I think he probably would have been canned. And then I guess that bought him 1 year, and then this isn't losing to the number 8 seed means you're fired. I don't know. And obviously, Giannis, when he did his post-game press conference and came out and basically said, "We need to make Justice better." I said that I think in game 3 or game 4. I don't remember what game he said it in. But listen, let's just talk, Mike. If Giannis is healthy and doesn't sit games and isn't hurting, is right?
I don't think so. I mean, you could make the argument that Miami probably played well enough, and certainly they were going to push the Bucks a lot more than any of us would have imagined, based on how good Jimmy Butler's been and just the way they're shooting the ball. And it's hard to know because the Knicks have been so bad, which we can take that a whole nother direction with how disappointing it is that the Cavs lost to this terrible Knicks team that is now losing to an 8 seed and isn't even putting up any kind of a fight. And most likely that's going to be 4-1. But I think when you look at the Bucks Heat series, you still have to be Milwaukee. You look at their team and it's hard to kind of imagine, it's hard to figure out how you blow that series to Miami. And yet at the same time, when you look at the Bucks, you can say, okay, what do they have offensively that you can really count on beyond what Giannis is going to do, just from just continuing to attack the rim and be aggressive and do the things that he does. His lack of a jump shot certainly played a role in their loss in this series, because he just can't generate easy shots the way some of these other guys can. And yet you look around at the rest of the roster, and there's certainly flaws. They just don't have enough. The scoring just isn't there when Holiday doesn't play well, and when Middleton has kind of been compromised all season. It makes it much more of a challenge for Milwaukee to score. And that's kind of what they ran into. And then Jimmy Butler, was historically great. You can make an argument that 5 games of that series probably ranks in the top 10 all time. Now, granted, it was a first round series, but if you just look at the totality of what he did in that series on both ends of the floor, that probably ranks in the top 10 in terms of one series performances in the playoffs. So combined with Giannis sitting out, I mean, to answer your question, I think if Giannis plays, the Bucks probably go on and win that series fairly easily, just because I think the psychological factor of Giannis going out when he did and then sitting out, it just, right? I think it's the psychological piece. It's the same way when Draymond got suspended in Game 5 of 2016. It wasn't, he came back for games, he came back for Game 6 and 7, or came back for Game 7. No, he came back for 6 and 7, right? Yeah, he came back for 6 and 7. And so, but by that point, the Cavs had already, they had kind of kickstarted. I think Miami was the same way. Like Milwaukee kind of lost confidence. You start to feel shaky, like, "Ooh, are we going to lose this?" And I think that's where it all came apart for Milwaukee.
Connor, by the way, Mike, did you listen to the mismatch today?
I don't know what's the bone that you had to pick.
Did you listen to the mismatch today?
I did, but I don't know. Nothing's sticking out for me that in terms of what you're about to say.
He talked about the they always talk about how Phoenix lost because of the players coming off the bench.
Oh yeah,
doesn't count. Well, he didn't mention the 2016 finals, which every single time it's talked about. Oh, they never would have won. And you hear it from people. Oh, they wouldn't have won it. I didn't get suspended for Game 5. Like I hear that at this point than I do about the Phoenix Suns. Like I know it's probably recency bias. Maybe it's because I'm a sensitive Cleveland fan. But why did he bring that up? That would have been another more recent equatable situation, right? Do you agree or disagree?
Yeah, no, I think it's a similar situation, but yeah, now we're looking at, hey man, that's 7 years ago, right?
I know. Well,
crazy to think that was 7 years
2000,
ago.
Wasn't it 2001?
I guess that's true. That's 2000. That's 2009. I think because the Suns were involved, right? That's where.
I guess
that's why he's talking about it, because the Suns were involved.
It's okay. All right, so, Kevin O'Connor, I'll give you a little bit of leniency.
Well, I made fun of Kevin O'Connor when he told me the Lakers had the 6th best chances
NBA Finals immediately after the
trade deadline. So,
Mike,
I think I'm gonna have to eat some crow on that one. You're telling me what?
I think you're gonna. I've told you. I feel like the Lakers are in the finals, Mike.
You think they're beating one of these two teams? No, there's no way. They're not beating Denver or Phoenix. There's no way. I don't see it.
If LA wins tomorrow and gets to rest, because this is going 7, Mike. This is going 7. Regardless of the outcome tonight, it's going 7.
You think?
No, I know. This is going 7.
All right.
Okay, this is going 7.
All right. Okay.
They're going to get a whole week of rest. Theoretically, if the Lakers win tomorrow night. LeBron's going to be in that hyperbaric. He's going to be sleeping. He's going to be in Star Wars in the back to tank, getting all of his energy back. You know what the back to tank is, Mike, in Star Wars? You know what that is?
The who?
Oh, God.
Is that like a TIE fighter?
It's the tank
X-wing,
with the water
X-wing
in
fighter?
it. That's how when they get injured, they go in there. That's where
who goes in there? Luke?
No, Jabba the Hutt.
Princess Leia?
Not Jabba the Hutt.
Chewbacca?
Boba Fett goes in there when they find out that he's actually alive, Mike. Spoiler alert, he's not
Han
dead.
Solo?
Boba Fett is not dead, Mike. Did you know that? He got eaten in the Sarlacc pit.
Isn't he in the Mandalorian or something?
He was. He found him in the Mandalorian. Sorry. LeBron's gonna this time. He's gonna get rest, and then they're gonna be good to go. I like their chances, Mike. The only thing that could stand their way is Matt Ishbia getting involved and getting someone suspended.
You saw the video tonight of pregame. You saw the
Oh,
pregame.
they're showing it
video
right
for
now.
tonight.
They're showing it right now. They're showing it right now.
There it is. There it is.
There
Yep.
it is.
Gave him a ball. Gave him a hug.
Oh, I wonder if he
Ready to
signed the
go.
ball. Did Jokic sign the ball? That's the question.
That's
Do
a
you
good
think do you
question.
think
I
I'm
think
trying
he
to
should've-
analyze. I want to try to analyze this video. I'm going to rewind 15 seconds to see if I can see a signature that's not.
He should have put his elbow print on the ball. That's
I
what he
don't
should
see
have done.
anything. I don't see anything on the ball. How about my favorite was that video I sent you, the Kevin O'Connor, the WWE.
Yeah, that was a good one.
another angle.
Yeah, that was a
That
good
was a
one.
solid
Yeah,
one.
that was a
That
good
was solid.
Yeah, that was a good one. I
All
enjoyed
right,
that.
so I think we've exhausted our Bucks talk. Let's turn our attention. Let's talk about the Eastern Conference.
Wait, who's gonna get that job? Who's gonna get the Bucks job?
Nurse.
I think there's a good
Ime?
chance.
Or
I
Ime
think
got
there's a
Houston
good
job.
chance.
So Nurse. I think it's gotta be Nurse, right?
I think Nurse has got to be the front runner. I know that there's the guy on the Pistons or the guy on the Bucks bench, Charles Lee, who was a finalist for the Pistons job or is a finalist for the Pistons job.
You
That
see who else is a
maybe
finalist
not-
for the Pistons job?
No, who else?
Kevin Ollie.
Kevin Ollie. Nice. There you go.
My mom liked saying his name when he was on the Cavs. I don't
Kevin
know. I don't know
Ollie?
if
Yeah.
I don't know if his UConn
Track record is
coach-
going to speak
track
well for him
record
as
is
a
gonna but maybe he just didn't like the recruiting piece of it.
yeah.
But
Nuggets
anyways.
back up 16. Michael
Yeah,
Porter
yeah.
Jr. from the corner.
Peyton Jr., Sean Payton with Russell Wilson. They're
They're hanging
scheming
out,
for
man.
how Russell Wilson's gonna suck even more again this year. Sorry,
Maybe.
Bu.
We'll have to see.
Sorry, Bu.
I think Nick Nurse probably takes the Bucks job. I wouldn't be surprised. That it makes a lot of sense. And obviously Nurse has a reputation of being a really good
Bud
tactical coach.
Is Bud going to be hired by someone? He's going to be hired by someone, right?
Yeah, somebody will hire him. I mean, I think the thing with Bud is, right, that he is a guy who
Floor.
where
Where he's going to take you from
if you're an okay team, he's going to make you better. I'm just not sure he's the guy to push you over the top, even though he pushed the Bucks over the top and got him a title. I still feel like in a lot of ways, Nick Nurse is almost like, and we think about our commentary about the things that we had problems with Coach Bud. One of the things was always that even in playoff games, like Giannis would play like 31 minutes. And you're like, can we get this guy 37, 38, 40 minutes in a playoff game like every other team's stars do? And eventually he got to that point in the title season. But Nick Nurse is known for maybe almost sliding towards the Tibbs side of the scale of playing guys
Too many
almost too much. Oh, yeah, almost too much. But I think you want to, again, if I'm a coach, I want to err on the side of I want my best players on the floor. And Nick Nurse is known, I think, as one of the better tacticians and one of the better X's and O's guys in the league. So clearly, I think Bud, that was one of the criticisms with him, was that he wasn't willing to adjust on the fly, whereas I think Nick Nurse is much more malleable as a coach in terms of his ability to adjust in game. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I think that getting rid of Bud was the right move for the Bucks. There's no way you could bring back the coach and all the players. And who knows? I mean, Middleton has a player option for like 40 some odd million. I think he has one more year maybe on his contract. He's extension eligible, I believe, come the fall. So this team may end up looking different moving forward, depending on who they hire as a coach and what ends up happening. But yeah, I think Nick Nurse has got to be the front runner for that job.
Yep. Okay. Fair enough. All right. So let's talk Eastern Conference. Like you alluded to, we'll start with Miami, New York. I think it's over tomorrow. Maybe New York wins it tomorrow, but I haven't seen anything that looks like they want to have anything to do with continuing this playoff series. They look like they've rolled over and died. They have no. It's almost exactly what they did to the Cavs are being done to them. Like they just look like they've won. They feel like they've won a series, so they've accomplished something. And you know who I feel terrible for? Jalen Brunson, because he's the only one that looks like gives any care in the world. He's played really well. Like impressed. And I guess I shouldn't be as impressed because I feel like he did this well and left a lasting impression on me, last year, and despite Dallas's struggles last year in the playoffs. I just think Brunson did really well, and he's doing well this year. So obviously that got him paid last year, and you're going to continue. But everyone else, I mean, Julius Randle's clearly compromised with his ankle, and he just, I think they put it best on Mismatch. He just looks like he's disheveled, terrible, complaining about every call. His facial expressions are bizarre, and I don't know. Like RJ Barrett's, yeah. Quickly being out hurt last night. I mean, listen, the Knicks are done, and once again, Kevin Love, buddy, that guy. I think he had 3 threes yesterday, just making a difference. Respect Kevin Love because he looked like he was definitely donezo, and maybe he will be donezo after this year. Maybe this is it. There were some rumblings that maybe he was going to retire, but obviously the Heat don't win without Jimmy Butler, and he's just played phenomenally. So I give the Heat a lot of credit. I thought the Knicks were going to win this series, although I did give the Heat a fighting chance, but it's not happening. The Heat are winning tomorrow, I think, Mike, and it's over.
I agree with you there. I think the Heat take Game 5 tomorrow in New York. It looks like, just as you said, the Knicks have almost quit on the floor. They just look like a team that is broken, which is exactly the way the Cavs looked in Game 5 of their series, where they just looked like they were looking around at each other going, all right, who's going to do something? Who can do something? What can we do? We're just being overrun by, in the Cavs case, being overrun by the Knicks, and in the Knicks case here, being overrun by Miami. And you're right to say Brunson's played really well, and yet I'm looking at his stats, and for the playoffs, Brunson is shooting 28% from 3, which didn't feel that way at all against the Cavs. Felt like he was making everything that he threw up there. But nonetheless, Brunson has been the one guy I think that you could depend on. I would say, honestly, like Barrett has probably played
above what you thought he would,
better than maybe what you could have reasonably expected. I think Randle, you look at what he's done in the playoffs 2 years ago when they lost to the Atlanta Hawks in the first round, and then what he's done in this playoff, because he was not good against the Cavaliers, and he's been abysmal here against the Heat. And as you said, he just feels like a guy, when you watch him, he does not inspire any confidence in his teammates. When you look at, just as you said, the body language, the facial expressions, just the way that he plays, it just seems like he's checked out, like he's a guy going through the motions. And then the Knicks role players in this series compared to the Knicks role players and how they played against the Cavaliers. I mean, Mitchell Robinson looked like the second coming of Bill Russell and Will Chamberlain on the boards, and he's been completely neutralized. You think about how good Josh Hart was against the Cavs and seemed like he was, again, making everything. Yep. And now he really can't throw it in the ocean. And Hartenstein was dominant against the Cavs as a backup big. And
Mike, I don't even want to talk about Isaiah Hartenstein. All I needed was 2 points for that dude. Get out of here, Isaiah
I'm just saying. Okay. All right. Well, whatever. Look, your quarter bet didn't pay off.
No, Mike.
All right. Well, look, I don't know. Whatever. Hartenstein played really well against the Cavs. He hasn't made nearly as much of an impact against the Heat, which, all this being said, makes it even more disappointing that the Cavs just didn't show up against what has proven to be a fraudulent Knicks team here against the Miami Heat. So I don't even know what to make of the Cavaliers' performance in that series. I was disappointed in the moment, and the longer this series has gone on between the Knicks and the Heat, the more I scratch my head, and just, it's hard to fathom what the Knicks did to the Cavaliers and how bad they made us look. And
so what you're
it's
really
concerning.
Saying is what you really want saying is you don't want this series to linger anymore. You just want Miami to finish them tomorrow, and then we don't have to worry about it anymore. So.
Yeah, I don't really want to watch the New York Knicks anymore. I'm happy to vanquish the Knicks from the playoffs and have the Heat move on. Look, the Heat have been really good. Butler obviously has been either the best or the second best player in the playoffs to this point. And I think what's interesting is you look at the Miami role players, and it just feels like every time, and look, this is what playoff basketball ends up being about. You need your stars to be at their best, which Butler's been at his best. And then you need your role players to play well and hit big shots and do things that maybe you don't think they're capable of doing. And Miami has just had guys that are making baskets from all over the place. Caleb Martin has hit multiple big threes. You look at Strus, how well he shot the ball. Gabe Vincent has been great. Duncan Robinson, who barely played throughout the season, has come on and made contributions. And they're doing it without Kevin Love. Look, I think the thing with Kevin Love that is so frustrating for us as Cavs fans is when you think about just the fact that after Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, really we had no bigs on the roster. And I know that what probably happened is the Cavs were trying to do Love a solid. He wasn't playing. He wasn't in the rotation at that point in the regular season. And he asked them to let him go so he could go and find another place to play where he could actually get out on the court and play. But I just think that it's kind of short-sighted on the Cavs part. Now, maybe, look, Love has a history here of when he wasn't happy, he really didn't give it his best effort. Let's just put it that way. Back in the rookie year of Darius Garland and playing with Colin Sexton, let's just say that Kevin Love at that point was not very happy.
Not the best role model.
No, he was not the best role model. It was sort of a comedy of, I don't even want to say errors, but it was the Kevin Love comedy show back then in terms of his effort and his buy-in. And
there were clowns in our gymnasium.
There were clowns everywhere at that point. One of them was Kevin Love. And so maybe the Cavs were worried that, hey, if this guy continues to languish on the bench, maybe the positive attitude that he's displayed for the last year and a half, maybe they thought that was going to go away and that he was going to become a disruption. Now, I don't know that for a fact, but maybe that's what they were worried about. Because from a pure logical standpoint, letting the guy go made no sense because the Cavs had nothing else on the bench with size beyond Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. And as limited as Kevin Love might have been at that point when they released him, and as limited as he might be now, the fact is that he's an experienced player, a guy who's made multiple all-star games in his career, a guy who's played in the playoffs, a guy who has, if he's going well, has some discernible skills that certainly this team could have used. I mean, we could have used Kevin Love inside trying to box guys out and just rebound the ball and maybe be able to shoot it. And look, I know that he wasn't shooting well when he was here, but it feels like to let him go at that point.
He also had a thumb injury.
Right. But it still feels like you have to look at your bench and be like, we have nothing beyond our two starters. So maybe we just keep this guy around as an insurance policy. His contract is expiring at the end of this season. And then you just say, hey, Kevin, you're going to wait it out here in the season. We're going to be in the playoffs. Who knows? There may be a role for you. Just stick with us. And at the end of the season, you're welcome to take your services elsewhere. It just seems like it was short-sighted on the part of Cavs management to let him go. But at the same time, would Kevin Love have swung that playoff series to the Cavs? I don't really think so. There was a lot deeper issues that we talked about last week or the week before for the Cavs. So I think Miami finishes this series off. Butler's been incredible, and I expect that to continue. And look, if Philly ends up beating Boston, I think there's a decent chance that Miami can get to the NBA Finals, which is crazy. That's crazy to me, but I think it's possible.
All right, that was a perfect transition, Mike.
Thank you.
Let's talk Philly. It's like you've been doing this for a few years or something.
I've been trying.
All right, so Philly Boston, Mike. Our series. You got Embiid out for a game. Philly wins. Embiid comes back. Boston wins. The next two, right? That's right. The next two. Then Harden decides that, I'm just going to go back to game one, Harden. Game four, Harden All-Star, or whatever you call them. And then tonight, again, Philly wins. It's like, are they going to do it, Mike? Are they going to beat Boston? Missoula looks completely like clueless. He looks lost. Did you see his in-game interview tonight, Mike?
I did not see the in-game interview.
He said, "Oh, we just got to make an adjustment and stop them from scoring," or something along those lines. Really? You got to make an adjustment now
coaching.
in the third quarter? You haven't made an adjustment between games because the game plan they used tonight was the same game plan they used in Game 4. It wasn't like Doc Rivers has never been known for like strategery all-star. He's not a strategery all-star. He's a good coach. He's a great coach. I mean, he's got a championship and he's got his teams basically in the playoffs every single year he coaches. Okay. However, best game manager at times, and other than going like this and making faces and not knowing what's going on, that's Doc Rivers' specialty. And although I guess a lot of NBA players do the same thing, but like Missoula looks lost. And end of Game 4, not calling a timeout, bizarre. I understand you want to let him play, but at some point you got a timeout. You take it and then you talk about what you want. Because I know Marcus Smart made the shot after the buzzer. I guarantee you the play wasn't for Marcus Smart to take that shot. Okay, I still don't know why that ball.
Yeah, I don't know. It's bizarre from a standpoint of when you're down by 2, like you got to go earlier so that you bring the officials into play. You bring the opportunity to get an offensive rebound into play. And clearly the play wasn't designed for Smart, but when the ball gets kicked out to him, if Tatum had gone 4 seconds earlier, then that shot is a shot that counts and it goes in. And so I think the thing with this series that makes no sense is there's a million things, but let's go through a couple of them. So one is
That's a million.
There's a million things. Like, okay, so you've had 2 historically great James Harden games. He was fantastic in games 1 and 4. Kudos to James Harden. I didn't think he had it in him. He was fantastic in Game 1. He was fantastic in Game 4. Games 2 and 3, you got historic playoff Harden, historically bad, the way that he normally plays. And then tonight you had probably the version of Harden that the Sixers need if they're really going to win an NBA title, where Harden had 17, didn't take that many shots. I think he had 10 assists, 8 rebounds. And watching that entire game, Harden controlled the tempo, controlled what Philly did, got the ball to the right people at the right time, and played a really, really smart game. He wasn't superstar Houston version James Harden, which I'm not sure that's the version. Look, Philly needed it in Game 1 and Game 4. Game 1 because Embiid wasn't there, and Game 4 because Embiid wasn't nearly as good as they need him to be. So kudos to James for stepping up and getting it done. But the way Philly played tonight is kind of what I think the formula is for the Sixers to win, right? You need a really good game from Embiid. He's got to score, the leading scorer in the league through the season. And you need Embiid to be that facilitator. I'm sorry, you need Harden to be that facilitator.
Yeah.
Get the ball to Tyrese Maxey, who shot the heck out of the ball. You had Tobias Harris, who I think had 16 or 18, had 11 rebounds, and played the role of the 4th guy really, really well. And then PJ Tucker doing PJ Tucker things and just being an annoyance and whatever. So I guess when I look at this series, like it doesn't make sense in terms of you don't know like which Embiid are we getting? Are we getting the Embiid who was seemingly wilting down the stretch of Game 4? Or are you getting the guy that you got tonight? Are you getting games 2 and 3 James Harden? Are you getting games 1 and 4 Harden? Are you getting Game 5? Like, do you have any idea which Harden you're going to get in Game 6?
Well, let's see. It's in Philly. I think you have
I mean, the short answer is no.
The short answer is no. I think you have a better chance of having a decent Harden than a bad Harden, but I guess that's not true. And he was terrible. Listen, Mike, no, you don't. And to be honest with you, who set the tone tonight, Mike? Who set the tone to start the game? Did you watch the beginning of the game? Did you watch it?
I missed the first half of the first quarter. So
Tyrese Maxey set the tone tonight, Mike. He had 11 in the first. Him and Embiid had 11, but he was just all over the place in the first quarter, like disrupting things, out hustling Celtics. He wanted the ball. I don't know. Like there was that game. Tatum was completely absent in the first half of Game 4, right? Like that's
Yes.
when
He was 0 for 9, I think, in the first half.
Completely absent. Further cementing my opinion of that man. I don't think he's a top. I don't know. Like
he's not the guy. He's not the guy.
Like he's a piece, but he's not the guy. Like I know he didn't perform, but I would take Donovan Mitchell over Jason Tatum right now. I know he didn't perform in our series, right?
Would you take Donovan Mitchell? But you're
not going to go that far.
No, I think Tatum's the second best player on a championship team. I don't think Jason Tatum is winning an NBA title as the best player on a team. And I think that last year, look, we talked about how he's still only, I think, 25 years old. So it's maybe a little bit too early for us to bail on him this way. But I've seen enough to know that
I'm bailing, Mike.
Like I said last
time, I'm bailing on him like I'm bailing on Zion playing 250 games.
Okay. Yeah, I've bailed on Tatum too, even though he's young. And the reason why is I just feel like he's one step short of what the very best guys are. Like the very best guys, from night to night, I know what I'm getting. I'm talking about the very best playoff guys. I know what I'm getting from the very best playoff guys. I know I'm getting, even if they're not scoring and shooting it as well as they can, I just know that they're going to show up. And you can define that however you want, but I just don't feel like I can always count on Tatum to show up. And then you look down the lineup with Boston, it's just like there's no way they should have lost Game 4. And yet at the same time, this is what I'm talking about. There's so many weird things. Like you can look at Game 4 and say there's no way that Boston should have lost that game, right? They're up 5 with like 2 minutes to go, and then they just do a bunch of stupid things that ends up costing them that game.
And yet by the same time,
right. But then by the same token, if you're Philly, you're winning that whole game. Like Philly was up 16 at one point, I believe in the fourth quarter, and Boston comes all the way back and ends up taking a 5-point lead. So if you're Philly, you can't blow that kind of a lead. And then it's just tonight they have the lead. They keep going, push it out. I didn't expect them to play this well in Boston, but so much of it was dependent upon the Celtics didn't really show up and bring their best game. And so I think what's weird about this game or this series is that nobody knows. I don't know who's going to show up from game to game. I have no idea what version of any of these guys we're getting. Yeah. Like, honestly, when PJ Tucker went and screamed in Embiid's ear in the fourth quarter of Game 4, it was like, dude, like you're completely wilting. And that's the Embiid that we've seen in the playoffs time and time again, where it looked like he was just totally fatigued. Tonight, honestly, was the first time in his playoff career that I saw him sort of fight through that fatigue to continue to want the ball, to continue to make plays. Like the play that stood out for me tonight is when he turned it over, the chase down block where he turned and he had to run the floor and he ended up blocking Jaylen Brown, and then he crashed into the stanchion. I was like, oh no, I hope he's not hurt. But that was a play where I think Embiid of previous years, even maybe Embiid of Game 4, after he turns it over, he would have jogged to half court and watched Jaylen Brown lay that in or dunk it. And for him to sprint the floor and block that, to me, that was a huge play. More symbolic necessarily than the actual meaning within the game, but I think symbolic of that's what he's got to do. That's the type of player that he has to be. That's the impact that he has to have on both the offensive and defensive end of the floor. And he's got to be able to fight through that fatigue. Yeah. He's got to be a guy who can play 40 minutes and play 40 minutes at a high level. Like it's one thing to play the first 30 minutes at a high level, and then the last 10 minutes you're on the floor in the fourth quarter, you're basically a shell of yourself, which is kind of what he's been in the other games in this series. He hasn't really taken over in any of the fourth quarters, and especially in games 2 and 3 where they needed him because Harden wasn't doing anything. That's what makes this series so strange, is just I don't know who's showing up with what version of what they can do. Like it felt like honestly, I'm watching this game tonight and Philly's kind of celebrating and happy and they get all these smiles on their faces. And yet part of me, as I was watching them, like going back after there were a couple maxi threes where then there was a timeout and they were all high-fiving as they're going back to the huddle. And part of me is watching that going, I can totally see these guys completely just not showing up in game 6 and losing to the Celtics. And now the Celtics were in this exact same position last season, right? They lost game 5 at home to the Bucks. Everybody thought, the series is over. Milwaukee's going to go home. They're going to take care of business. And then Tatum answered the call, right? I think he had 56 in that game, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, he had a huge game on the road in Milwaukee. So is Boston capable of going into Philadelphia and winning? Absolutely. Will I be surprised if they go in there and they beat the Sixers? I won't be surprised at all because I just don't know what to expect from either one of these teams. And honestly, from the players on any of these teams, like Horford tonight doesn't score. Like you're not winning many games if you're Boston if Al Horford goes. I think he was 0 for 7 from the floor. And he was just
he's been pretty reliable.
That's what I'm saying. He's been very reliable. And he's been reliable as a defender as well. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to make of this series because there's just
what are you saying?
So
what are you saying? What's your pick? Okay, let's make a pick now, Mike. I think Philly wins it in 6. I think it's over.
I agree with you. That's what I don't feel good about that pick, but that's what I would pick. It's more a pick against Boston than it is for Philly. I just don't.
You never want to pick like James Harden. I know.
Right. Listen, right. It's not like.
Listen, Mike. I want to say for all of our James Harden hate tonight, you are very complimentary of several things that he's done, which obviously he deserves it because he's shown up for 3 of the 5 games. So
he's played 2 amazing games. He's played 1 really good game tonight, and he's played 2 horrendous games. So 60%
odds are not in his favor right now for the next game, but we'll see. We'll see.
It's a closeout game. His history tells you that he's not going to show up.
He might be sitting on the bench.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he combines for 15 points in the next 2 games and Boston wins game 6 and game 7. That would not shock me at all. But I just think Boston, they look like a team that just doesn't – there's something off about their chemistry. There's something off about the way that they play. I still don't trust, as I've said many times when we talked about it, I still don't trust Tatum, even though in this spot last year he put up 50-something.
It's like the Kyrie stink is lingering, Mike. It's like the Kyrie stink is lingering.
I don't know. I think yet I feel like maybe Embiid unlocked something with that block, as silly as it sounds, that maybe he found a gear that he didn't know he had, that he didn't trust that he could get to. And I think Embiid gets it done at home. I don't think he lets them lose. And looking ahead, wouldn't it be fun if somehow we get Denver, Philadelphia as our NBA finals and you had Jokic and Embiid going head to head? That would be awesome. I mean, that would be a fun 2 centers as your 2 best players going back. Now, clearly they don't necessarily play the way our old school centers did, but that would be a fun matchup if we were to be able to get that in the NBA finals.
Yeah. I mean, really, if we get Nuggets or Lakers, I think there's good storylines. Although I think Nuggets Heat would be pretty.
There's nothing bad coming out. There's nothing bad coming out of the West. I don't care which of the 4 teams come out of the West.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is, when you think about it, all season long we talked about how much better the Eastern Conference was than the Western Conference. And
here's what I like.
I think all 4 of these teams are in the West are probably better than whatever's going to come out of the East.
So what you're saying is that the Lakers come out of the West, you're picking them to win the championship. I said if. I didn't say you were saying they were getting there. But I'm saying if they
I think
come
there's a
out of the
decent.
West,
I think there's a decent chance, right? I mean, unless the only way I would say, yeah, I don't know. If Boston or Philly, I guess, comes out of this series and then dismantles Miami 4-0 and really starts to put it together, then maybe. But I think if LeBron and AD are healthy and you're looking at them matching up against either of these other teams that we have in the Eastern Conference,
yeah,
hard to say that you wouldn't favor the Lakers or the Warriors or the Nuggets or the Suns. In all honesty, I think any of those teams are probably better than what's coming out of the East. And look, it could be Miami. I will not be stunned in one way, shape, or form if Miami gets the the NBA Finals. And look, I got a lot of respect for Jimmy Butler, but if Miami gets the NBA Finals, I don't care who they're playing against. That series is going to be about as lopsided as you could imagine. I mean, that's a 4-0 or 4-1 series. I don't care who the Heat plays.
That's fair. All right, let's talk West, Mike.
Okay.
We've talked a little. This series is over, right, Mike? There's no way LeBron's going to lose 3 straight games to the Warriors, and the Lakers are AD might get injured. That might be the way, I guess. Right? Like he gets hurt.
Maybe.
But I just don't see any way that the Warriors win 3 in a row. There's too many holes in that team. This is the first time I'm officially downplaying the Warriors' chances, Mike. I just want to note that.
Okay.
So that next week when we come back and they've come back to win the series, you can blame me. You can blame me for this. I don't see there's any way that they're gonna lose 3 in a row. I think the Warriors win Game 5, and I think the Lakers win Game 6. I just think their Warriors are gonna come out with a purpose tomorrow. They're gonna get that win, but I just don't see them winning 3 in a row. Other than Steph, they don't know what they're getting from anyone else. Like, and you look at the Lakers, and I know that other than LeBron and AD, you don't necessarily know who's gonna step up for the Lakers, but they've just had someone different every game. They had Russell that one game. They had Vanderbilt a few minutes. What was that? 3 or 4, I don't remember. And then obviously, or Game 3, and then obviously yesterday, who could have predicted Lonnie Walker was just going to come out and be like, "Yo, okay, I'm going to score 17 points in the fourth quarter." Was it 19 or 17? Whatever it was, just out of nowhere. And listen, they just seem to have someone, and I think it's something to say. Really likes this team, and that there is something to be said for that. Historically, that has led to good things. This team, he likes this group. Now that Russell Westbrook is gone, he seemingly likes this group. So I think it's over in 6. Would I be surprised if the Warriors lost tomorrow? I would be a little bit surprised, but I wouldn't be completely shocked. Because I'm sure LeBron would love to celebrate in the Golden State locker room tomorrow night.
All right. So there's a lot of things that are sort of circling around here that make this even more interesting. So number one, you just mentioned it. I'm sure LeBron would love to be able to celebrate in Golden State and win Game 5. The path for Golden State to win and come back is daunting, thinking about trying to win 3 in a row. However, I think you feel pretty confident, and I feel pretty confident that they're going to win Game 5. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but I would imagine that Steph is going to play really well. Clay was bad in Game 4. I'm guessing he bounces back at home. I think we've probably seen.
But Clay's been bad too.
He has, but I think he's going to bounce back and at least have a decent game. He may not have a Clay 35 points, 7 for 12 3-point shots. He may not have that in him, but I don't think he's going to be as bad as he's been. And
Okay.
I think that somebody from the Warriors, your point about the Lakers having multiple guys that can step up and sort of be that third or fourth option on any given night to score 25 plus points. I mean, the Lakers have a lot of guys that can kind of fill that role, so to speak. Whereas like the Warriors have as many guys like that, but typically role players are going to play better at home. I don't see Steph allowing this to happen where they're going to lose in 5. I think he didn't shoot the ball very well in game 4. I think he was 3 for 14 from 3. So I anticipate a bounce back game from Steph, and I expect the rest of the Golden State roster to play better. So if we concede the fact that Golden State's going to win game 5, now you're looking at, can they get a road win in LA to push it to a game 7?
What
And
was
if it
their
gets
road
pushed to a
record this
game,
year, Mike?
look, I don't disagree with you. I've been saying it all year that I think that the Warriors are fraudulent as title contenders. And yet I feel still that LeBron is nowhere near what the LeBron of the past has been. And AD is still a guy that he's a charter member of the James Harden All-Stars, where I don't know. Do you have any idea what AD you're going to get in game 5 or game 6? I don't think you can't answer that honestly and say
We're hoping
oh,
for
I
him to
know.
get to do what he did the last 2 games, right?
Right. But you can't, you're not penciling in AD for 32 and 17 in games 5 and 6. You're just not, because you don't know which guy is going to show up. You don't know if it's the guy who's going to be putting in a monster effort on defense and seemingly be everywhere with his length and blocking shots and altering others and making guys think twice about going to the paint, or are you going to get the guy who just kind of jogs up and down the floor and is seemingly disinterested? We've seen both of those guys a lot during the regular season, and we've even seen them in the playoffs. And so I don't know which AD I'm going to get. So I think that Golden State is going to win game 5. And then you're looking at, can they figure out a way to win game 6? Look, we've talked ad nauseum about the Warriors and the fact that we're rooting against them. But the reality is that Steph is just, he's at an incredible point in his career where it feels like he can do just about anything that he wants. And now I know he missed 2 big shots on the same possession in game 4. And I know that he gave the ball up to Jordan Poole when maybe he shouldn't have, to lose, what was that, game 2? And there's been some moments where he hasn't necessarily made the play that you might have expected him to make, but
he is 35.
You can only go right. But you can go back to game 7 against Sacramento when he puts up 50. I think that the Steph supernova.
Golden State to win this series, Mike?
Well, no, here's my thing. I think if you're Steph, right, you talked about how much LeBron would like to historically celebrate in the Warriors locker room. How much would Steph like to erase the 3-1 loss, the 3-1 comeback in 2016 with his own 3-1 comeback against LeBron? How much would he like to erase that and put his own 3-1 comeback on LeBron?
He would love to do that for sure.
And so would so would Clay, and so would Draymond. And I think that, look, does that kind of motivation, does LeBron wanting to celebrate in Golden State's locker room, or Steph wanting to erase and put his own 3-1 comeback in the books, is that really, that extra motivation, does that really make all that much of a difference? The answer probably is no. I mean, these guys want to win every time they step out on the floor in an NBA playoff game. So I'm not sure how much that matters, but at the same time, these are sort of weird historical oddities that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, those are things that are going to matter to these guys. And so maybe it is just a tiny ounce more of motivation. I don't think, despite the fact that it's 3-1, I think that Golden State having 2 home games and only really having to win that 1 road game, because I do think they're going to play better and they're going to win game 5. Now you're looking at, can you get a historic performance from Steph, or can you get Klay to have a throwback game and steal game 6? I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that happens. I still think that the Lakers probably win this series in 6. If I was betting, I'd say probably 75% I'd put on the Lakers, but I don't think it would be completely ridiculous. I don't think it would be completely ridiculous for Golden State to come back and win, only because they have 2 out of 3 at home. If it was the opposite, if we were going to LA for game 5, I would say there's no possible way that the Warriors are going to win 3 in a row and win 2 in a row at Crypto, or win 2 games at Crypto. That's just not going to happen. But the fact that they only have to steal,
terrible.
I know it does. Hey, we're at Ball Arena here for this Nuggets game. So
this game's
anyway,
over. Forget it.
Yeah, they're up 21. Jamal Murray down the lane with the dunk.
Whoa.
With the big dunk. So I just think it's not over. I would put my money on the Lakers at this point, but I think that for Golden State, it's pretty enticing to want to come back from 3-1 against LeBron. Let's put it that way. So whatever little extra motivation that gives them, and the fact that they have 2 home games, you're going to need a supernova Steph game in game 6 in order for them to win that game in LA. I mean, you're talking about he's going to have to get 40 plus in that game, I think, for them to win. So is that possible? Absolutely, it's possible. I wouldn't bet on it, but if you're the Warriors, I don't think there'd be any sweeter victory than coming back from 3-1 against LeBron and being able to at least even the score on that one. So we'll see.
Yep, we'll see. I don't think so. I think we can do. It's a 23-point game with 5.5 minutes left. I feel pretty.
Yeah, I feel pretty confident Denver's going to close this out.
Okay, so it's looking like the home team again. So it means we've played 5 games and the home team's won all 5. Obviously, based on what we've seen so far, I personally believe this is going 7. I said it already in the podcast. It looks like it might be the only series to go 7. I guess, obviously Boston could force a game 7. I don't think the Lakers, and I don't think the Heat series is going 7. So this is going to go 7. I'm just the NBA pixie dust, the NBA. It's going to go 7. I really genuinely believe that. And even if it's not, I think these teams are just they're in a unique situation because I don't feel like they're like evenly matched because they're just so different.
Very different teams. Very different
it's just
teams.
Like it seems like it's like a lot of, it's like a game of chess though, because like the first 2 games Denver just seemingly had control, and then game 3 it looked like not great things were happening for, and they ended up pulling that game out. And then game 4, the whole Ishbia Jokic, but that I think you and I talked this morning. I honestly think that was probably one of the best games we've ever watched.
That was a great game. I mean, offensively, from a standpoint of what those 4 guys were able to do, Jokic obviously puts up 53, was completely ridiculous, making just incredible shots from all over the floor. And Booker in the mid-range, he's as good right now pulling up off the dribble as anybody has been in a long, long time. And we're talking, he's in the Kobe, Michael Jordan range right now as far as his ability just to pull up and shoot from the mid-range. I mean, he really is. What he's doing, where he can get to his spots, his balance, and it always feels like when he goes up, I think the thing that makes guys that can really shoot the ball in the mid-range and even from 3, but I think when you're talking about being able to put the ball on the floor and then rise up and shoot a jump shot, what I always look at with those guys is, what do they look like? What's their balance like as they're going full speed and they stop on a dime and they go up? And Booker is just, when he raises up, every single time it looks exactly the same. Like he just gets in the air and everything is perfectly balanced, perfectly fluid. And he's been incredible. He was incredible in game 4. Jokic was incredible in game 4. Durant and Murray were as second bananas, equally as incredible. And I think, though, if you look at it and you say, okay, in that game 4, Phoenix had Booker and Durant combined for what? I think 82 points or something like that. And then you had in the third and fourth quarter. Yeah, and then in the third and fourth quarter, you had Shamet hit, 4 threes or 5 threes.
Yeah.
Which I don't think that's really sustainable. I don't think Booker shooting 79% is sustainable. I don't know what he is tonight from the floor, but he's playing really well again tonight. I don't have the box score. Actually, I guess I could just pull up the box score and see what he's shooting from the field. But I think that if you're Denver, you have to look at it and say, we blew them out now 3 times at home, and we kind of, I don't want to say blew game 3, but they were sort of in the game and ended up losing that one. And then game 4, we just ran into this unbelievable buzzsaw of 2 guys shooting a ridiculous percentage and making everything. And we still only lost by 5, and we were right there at the end. Now, granted, you needed 53 from Jokic, but Jokic's 53 is just like, I mean, he's scoring on post-ups and threes, and it feels like he can kind of get the same shots that he got in that 53-point game. He can get those whenever he wants. And really, Denver's better when he's not doing that. I mean, Denver's better when he's passing and getting his 30, 10, and 10.
So here you go, Mike. ESPN Stats and Info 9 minutes ago posted this. Nikola Jokic is the second player in NBA history with 300 points, 100 rebounds, and 75 assists through his first 10 games of the postseason, joining this player who played in 1963.
1963. Well, Wilt, right? Oscar Robertson.
The big O.
There you
Oscar
go.
Robertson.
All right.
Go.
I think the thing is,
he's the first center to also have 10 multiple double-digit triple doubles in postseason, because he had another triple double tonight. So
yeah, look, I think Denver wins it in game 6. I really do. Durant tonight, where there's 3 minutes to go in this game, 3.5 minutes to go. Durant's played 42 minutes. Booker's played 41 minutes. It's just not sustainable. They don't have. They're getting zero production out of these other guys, except for in game 4 when the rest of their bench just went crazy and they scored 40 points. I mean, tonight you're looking at Okogie 0 for 3. All right, Cam Payne 3 for 5, having a decent game. TJ Warren 2 for 7. Landry Shamet 1 for 5. Now Terrence Ross is 3 for 4 from 3 tonight. But I don't think that Phoenix's bench is as good as Denver's bench. I don't think their complementary players are as good as Denver's complementary players. And I know Phoenix is going home, but the amount of minutes that Durant and Booker are playing, look, Durant, he's 10 of 24. He's missing shots that I feel like he normally makes. He's got 5 turnovers. He's been sloppy with the ball. I think the guy, he's playing too many minutes. And I don't think you're seeing the best version of Kevin Durant in this series, despite the fact that he's probably averaging 30 points a game. I don't think he's been as sharp as he normally is. And I just think Denver is going to keep coming. And I don't think Jokic is going to have any type of a drop-off in game 6. I expect him to have another huge game. And I think Denver wins this series.
So you're
in Phoenix. They just don't have
it. There's no game 7s, or do you think that the Lakers series goes to 7?
I kind of feel like the Lakers game. I kind of feel like that series is going to go 7. I kind of feel like everybody's penciling in.
Listen,
the Lakers.
You are just so anti-Lakers. This is the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life. You've been talking about Warriors are anywhere near.
I don't see how any team. But I've been saying that about I've been saying this about both of these teams, right? I've been saying this. I told you. I laughed at the fact that the Lakers were a finals contender, right? I laughed at that. I said, "There's no possible way." I laughed at the fact that the Warriors.
At me when I hemmed and hawed about the Warriors in February.
That's what I'm
I can still
saying.
see-
I don't think either one of these teams. Look, I don't think either one of these teams is fine. I think whichever one of these teams wins, and then you look at the next series, I think Denver or Phoenix, if Phoenix somehow comes back and beats Denver, I think either one of those teams will beat Golden State or will beat the Lakers. I don't think either of those teams are getting to the finals. But I don't know that I prefer Golden State over the Lake, vice versa. I don't know that. Look, if I had my druthers, I would rather see the Lakers win this series. I don't want Golden State to win. I'm just saying there's a lot of things swirling around this series from a historical standpoint. And Golden State, you kind of agree, right, that they're going to win game 5?
Well, game 6.
Okay, so now
Yeah,
you're
game
looking
5,
at
yeah.
right. So now you're looking at they got to go back to LA and they got to win game 6. And you're asking me, are they capable of winning game 6 in LA? Where
I mean,
just like the Philly Boston series, I don't know who's showing up for the Lakers on any given night. I
No,
mean, I
Mike,
can't
it's
pencil
over.
LeBron in for 30, 10, and 10. Okay.
come on.
All right.
It's over.
All right.
They're not.
All right.
Listen,
That's fair.
if the Lakers
Lose
lose
the
the series next week, I will since we're now live streaming on YouTube, I don't know, I'll do something for me to do.
You'll
Mike.
wear a Golden
I'm
State.
not-
You'll wear a Steph Curry jersey on the podcast.
I have a Golden State hat.
I'll wear
A Golden State hat.
All right. There you go.
Vest.
All right.
I have a Golden
Perfect.
State hat that I've had since '92, and
That'll make me
I-
as a huge Golden State Warriors fan. That'll make me feel really good.
I thought I was
Not gonna-
going to do eat a Carolina Reaper or something like that. So I'll wear a Golden State hat. So that
All
sounds
right,
good.
that sounds fair. That sounds fair. Yeah, I'm so all right. So let's review. Heat Knicks. We both have the Heat in 5,
Heat.
right? Or Heat in 5.
Yeah,
Heat in
yeah.
5. Okay.
We-
We both have the
The
Sixers in
Sixers.
6.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you have Denver in 7,
Yeah, I've done.
or are you picking the Suns? Okay, and I have Denver in 6. Okay, I have Denver in 6. And then in the Lakers Warriors series,
I have Lakers 6.
I'm gonna go Lakers in 6 too. But I feel probably
Just the last 5 minutes talking about how they were going to 7 games.
I already said Lakers
All
in
right,
6 before.
I'll
I already
keep
said I already said Lakers.
Flip-flopper.
I said Lakers in 6 earlier in the pod. I'm just telling you that everybody is writing it off like Golden State is done. I'm telling you that they're not done. They need to get one game in game 6. Can they do it? Yes. What did I put the odds? I think I said 70-30 I think I said 70-30. So I'm just telling you it's not out of the realm of possibility. And I think most of what I'm hearing, reading, listening to, most people seem to feel like you do, that it's over, that the Lakers are going to win. But if you're conceding game 5 to the Warriors and now you're looking at they only have to win one road game, I know that beating LeBron and AD is not the same as beating Sacramento, but they did it once. I'm not sure that they can't do it again. I'm going to pick the Lakers in 6, but I won't be surprised if we're sitting here next week and you're wearing a Golden State hat.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Mike? Do we have anything else to talk about? A week from now, I think a week from now we're gonna know where Wemby's going, right?
Is the lottery next week?
Next Tuesday, we'll be doing a
Next
podcast
Tuesday.
after the lottery.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be interesting. That will, I don't know if it will shift the landscape of the NBA title, but it will certainly shift the landscape or the future of one franchise, if not multiple franchises, the franchises that don't get him and the franchises that do.
Well, I
Exciting
think
moment.
there's two other good players, 2 other solid players, but not
Yeah.
obviously him. But
Well, I think the thing is that, yeah, historically, everything that we read, that we see, all the experts seem to feel like this guy is a complete and utter sure thing. And in the limited time that we've been exposed to him and been able to see what he does, obviously from a skill standpoint and a size standpoint, what he does is incredible. I think the big question with him, just like the big question about anybody that's this size, is can he stay healthy? And that remains to be seen. And obviously that question won't be answered for a long time, and it'll be answered over the next 10 to 15 years. But from a skill standpoint, this guy's a difference
Who
maker.
plays 250
and
games
so
for
it'll be fun.
Wembanyama
Right,
or
he's-
Zion Williamson?
All right, there you go. Now, that might be a fair bet. That could be a fair bet because
I'm going Wemby
4 games.
because I don't think
Wemby's career.
Zion's getting
Okay.
to 250 games.
All right, man. You are so down on Zion. Not that you have any reason to be up on him. Not that you have any reason to be up. Well, what's different about so what's interesting about the draft lottery and the draft is, as Cavs fans, we have like 5 years of basically, unless something happens where we end up making trades and getting draft picks back, that the lottery and the draft, there's really nothing to look forward to over the next 5 years in terms of the draft. So, which is sort of an interesting position to be in, because clearly over the course of the Cleveland Cavs history, the draft has been a huge part of following the franchise. There's been a lot of big, important moments in the draft, or at least seemingly important at the time, versus actual basketball on the court. So I'm going to miss the draft from a Cavs perspective. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they ever, or what they do, because obviously, we're in a situation where we don't have any draft picks right now, really. So
Yep.
in the first round, that is.
We shall see.
So.
All right. Final score: Denver Nuggets 118, Phoenix Suns 102. Denver leads the series 3-2, headed back to Phoenix on Thursday night. Like I said, I think Denver finishes them off. I think that will be the end of the series. Jokic finishes with the triple-double, 29, 13, and 12. Jamal Murray goes for 19. Michael Porter Jr. goes for 19. And off
Most
the
of
bench,
those in the
your boy
first half.
Bruce Brown, 25 off the bench. So
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I didn't know Bruce Brown.
Who's your
had
finals
25
pick? Your
points
finals
in him.
pick. Your finals pick right now.
Oh,
This is where we'll
We'll do
end
the
it.
fin-
Your finals pick.
I'm going Nuggets, Sixers.
Okay. Yeah. I want to say Nuggets Heat, man. I really want to say Nuggets Heat, but man, I don't know, man. Can Philly really get there? Man, this East is a mess. Man, I can't believe what a mess the East is. Makes me so mad the Cavs just didn't show up to play. It's so disappointing based on the way this thing's turned out. I think I'm going to lean the same way as you. I think I'm going to go Denver, Philly. I think that would be a fun series just to watch Embiid and Jokic match up as the last three, right? Jokic has won 2 out of the last 3 MVPs, and Embiid finished second in 2 out of the last 3 and won the other one. So that would be a fun matchup at center. They're clearly both going to guard each other for the majority of that series, which you don't always get to see, even when you have guys at the same position. In the past, they don't always guard each other. Those 2 guys would be guarding each other the whole series, and that would be a lot of fun and would go a long way towards settling the debate of which one of those 2 guys is the better player. So that would be a series that, although I'm sure the NBA would love to see the Lakers or the Warriors in there instead of the Nuggets, I think from a basketball standpoint, Nuggets Sixers would be a really, really fun finals. So remains to be seen, but
We'll see what happens.
all right. Anything else?
We'll be back next week.
There you go. All right. Well, our first live stream on YouTube. So if you were live on there
it
checking
worked
us
the whole
out,
time. Like I had it on
perfect.
the phone, so
Nice.
It didn't
All right.
seem
Well,
to-
we'll start promoting it a little bit. See if people want to check it out. Obviously, there was a game going on while we were recording, so completely understand. And we really sprung it on people, but maybe some people will start to check it out. So it's just a way for us to get those NBA episodes out in front of people. So we appreciate you listening tonight or watching, as the case may be. And we will catch you on our next episode. Thanks.